I'm Amanda, the Botanical Brunette, and welcome to my channel. So, I am a little overdue. We are actually now in the month of October, so I need to show you guys all the plants that I gathered in the month of September. So just the other day, I got back from a trip. My husband and I took a road trip up to New Hampshire, where we are originally from. We actually stopped in New York to see a couple of our long-term friends, do a renewal, and then we actually just trekked right up to New Hampshire to go to my sister-in-law's wedding and to just do some fun family stuff. We also don't get to go up to New Hampshire, New England area all that often, so we made a kind of a long 3 weeks of it. If you've seen my last video, or 2 videos ago actually, I kind of was getting my plants prepared for us to go on that long trip. So you can check that out too, so you guys can see what I've done for my plants before I left, just kind of prepare them for me to get back. But enough about that. I'm going to talk about the plants that I got in the month of September. So I actually got a couple plants in New Hampshire. I wanted to visit some local nurseries and plant shops that were in the area. Unfortunately, because of the time of year that I went up, a lot of nurseries had mums and pumpkins and really just seasonal stuff, so I wasn't able to get a ton of houseplants up there, but there was a plant shop that I wound up stumbling across. So the month of September was pretty good. I got some kind of good plants. So the plants that you'll see today in this haul are plants that I've had in the past that I've either killed or is not doing too well, or I'm just getting another variation of that plant. So this is my do-over plant haul. Just a really quick recap for those of you who haven't seen any of my plant hauls. I have a $50 budget every month that I try to stick with, that I never do. I'm gonna be putting down in the corner the price of each plant. That way you guys can kind of count it up with me, and at the end we'll do a grand total so you can see if I've stuck to my budget or I've completely blown my budget, like I do pretty much every month. So I think that's kind of a fun, not only just a plant haul, but it's also a budget. That way I can kind of show you guys hey, you can stick with a budget and get some pretty cool plants and good plant supplies. But before we get into all of that, before I tell you all the plants that I got in September, please like this video at the end of the video if you like this kind of content, and also please consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed to my channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. Let's see the plants that I got in the month of September. So when my husband and I went up to New Hampshire, I was Googling plant nurseries and plant shops, and honestly, I kind of realized how spoiled we get in the southern states, specifically Florida, where we have plant shops everywhere. Nurseries are filled with plants and house plants most of the time. And I kind of got that realization that not everywhere has nurseries that have a bunch of plants. Now, there were nurseries that I didn't get to stop by, which unfortunately we'll have to just save that for another time. But I did stop into this plant shop. It was actually a florist shop that had a little plant room in there, and that's where I got pretty much all my plants. So let's talk about the first plant that I got. Technically, I got them all at the same time, but this is the first one that I picked up that I was I gotta get this plant. So the first plant that I got in the month of September is this Aglaonema Silver Bay, or Chinese evergreen is another name that people kind of identify this plant by. But this beautiful Aglaonema is just, it's so pretty, and it's so big. It's so pretty, it's so big. So I picked up this plant. I actually thought it was a Dieffenbachia. So I picked up this plant and I'm oh my god, I love this plant so much. And my dad was oh, do you have a plant like that? And I was no. So he wound up buying this for me, which was really sweet. So I trekked this thing all the way back to Orlando with me, 22 hours in the car, and it's doing great. I actually got this around the beginning of my trip. I got this on September 20th. I know that because it was my dad's birthday. That's why we were out kind of shopping. I mean, I haven't really cared for this a lot, so again, with my plant hauls, I don't really have a lot of like care tips and tricks to share with you guys, but it's just such a pretty plant. I hope I can keep this alive, and I hope this is a little bit easier than the Dieffenbachia. I've never had a Chinese evergreen, so I'm kind of curious to see how this goes. It kind of reminds me of a Dieffenbachia, but we'll kind of see. This is just such a pretty lush plant, and I'm excited to like watch it grow. I'm excited to kind of see how big it can get, even though it's already huge. It makes it so much more special that my dad got it for me, because like, you know, now I have to, also it adds a little bit more pressure because now I have to be like, oh no, I have to keep this alive. So like I said before, this is gonna be kind of like my do-over plant haul. So these are gonna be plants that I have already had, other than the Chinese evergreen. I don't have one in my collection, but I do have this plant, or at least I did have this plant in my collection, and it wound up dying actually right before I left for my trip, and I found this at that florist shop and I had to get it. And that is this parlor palm. So if you saw my March plant haul, I got a parlor palm for like $3, and I was really like super happy about it, and it wound up really just dying. So I got a bigger one, and hopefully I can keep this alive now. So this one was $7.50. So I saw this immediately and I was like, I gotta get it. But it's just so pretty. I don't know if you guys can see, and I didn't realize this until I got it kind of back to where I was staying. It has a lot of like spider mite damage, and it did have a lot of spider mites on it. So I'm currently right now trying to treat that spider mite damage. You can see how the leaves kind of are starting to look dusty. So I am just, you know, gonna be keeping an eye out on it. I've treated it twice now, and I haven't seen any more spider mites, but then again, they always wind up coming back randomly anyway, so I'm just gonna keep this kind of quarantine along with the other plants that I buy, and just keep an eye on it, and we'll kind of go from there. Hopefully I can keep this one alive. I don't really know what happened to my last one. I think it may be root rot, even though I've been so good with it. I think I may have root rotted it, and then I tried to propagate it, and that was a mess. So I just decided it was a $3 plant. I'm gonna buy a new one because sometimes it's just easier to do that than to save it. Even though it's so satisfying to save a plant, sometimes you just gotta throw it out and you gotta just start over. The last plant is another kind of special plant that I got. After my dad's birthday, he messages me and says that his girlfriend, or she's basically like my stepmom, she has kind of a green thumb. She has this huge spider plant that she's been growing for a long time, and she wound up cutting a couple of the pups off and growing them herself, and she wound up giving me some cuttings of her plant that she has already rooted and are already doing really well. So the next plant that I got for the month of September is a spider plant. Now this spider plant, like, she added these really pretty like pebbles in there. There's like a little fairy in there. Like, she's just so cute, and she just really decorated it for me. And you might be noticing the blunt ends of the spider plant. Her cat actually decided to munch on it before she gave it to me. Spider plants are super okay with pets. They give off a little bit of a like hallucinogenic to cats, maybe dogs too, but I know for sure for cats. And he was just having a good time with this. So, but it also kind of like, I think it's funny because it's like he like signed it for me. So it just, yeah. And then again, this is gonna be another plant that's gonna be pretty special to me, and another plant that I'm going to have to really make sure that I do not kill, because I've had, I think, 2 other spider plants in my collection, and I have just killed them both. I don't know why. They're so easy to take care of, just like the Dieffenbachia, but let me tell you, sometimes for me, the easier the plant, the harder it is for me to take care of. But I can keep like alocasias and calatheas alive for some reason. I don't know, it's a mystery. I am gonna try to keep this alive. I'm gonna put it in a brighter window than the other two were in. And I'm gonna probably water it a little less often just so I really don't root rot it. It's just so cute. I mean, you can see like there's like 2 cuttings of each one, and it's grown pretty well. If she's grown this from pups, it's been growing for a little bit. So again, just another really sweet, sentimental, like kind of like plant that I'm gonna really hope that I don't kill. So those are all the plants that I got in the month of September. I know this was kind of like a short plant haul. I didn't really get a lot of plants for myself. Chinese evergreen and the spider plant were gifts. So those 2 plants were gifts. So those don't count in my plant haul. I actually don't even remember how much the Chinese evergreen was. I think it was around $30, $33. But for that big plant, that's like not that bad. And the palm tree, the little parlor palm that I got, was only $7.50. So my grand total for the month of September is $7.50. Guys, like this is the least amount that I've ever spent on a plant haul. Like, I did good. I think it's the trip. I mean, I'm pretty sure I spent a lot of money on the trip, but I'm pretty proud of myself that I didn't go overboard, because I could have bought a lot of plants in this plant. It was just like such a small little like area that had such cool plants in it, but I was like, no, like most of them I already had, and I could have doubled up, but I'm like, don't do that. So yeah, that's it. That's my September plant haul. I hope you guys all have a great day and stay botanical.